Radio 106.2 FM and Inspire FM in Luton 105.1. Well, I hope that you've all been well, keeping out of the cold. It looks like the weather's actually taken a turn, actually a positive turn. Seeing plenty of respiratory tract infections, but you're all doing very well, and I'm ever so proud of you all that you're taking care of your health and not resorting to taking too many antibiotics. And it's been a wonderful day today. It really has been. It's been busy as usual. And for those of you that don't know me, I am Dr. Shabina Sadkayoum. I am a GP at a local surgery in Peterborough. And I bring you this health show every single week. And it's a pleasure to bring the latest information in the world of health to you. So, as promised, I like to bring you exciting shows. I like to bring you shows about matters that are pertinent to you and also to create an awareness. And I think today's show is going to be an absolute hit. So what I would like you to do is to engage with us, please, by texting and WhatsApping us on 07745 278 978, or you can ring on the studio telephone number 01733 602 133. Or you can indeed watch us on YouTube Live and Facebook Live. And I normally share the shows. So I've got a wonderful, wonderful show. I've got two wonderful guests with me. And I'd like to say to all of you, Assalamu alaikum, welcome, hello, good evening. Thank you for listening to the show, because this is a show that reaches out to every community, and this is what it's all about. This is what I like about Peterborough so much, that we have such a wonderful, diverse community. And just sort of catching up a little bit about what happened today, I went to Iqra Academy on what I'm very humble to state was I was called for an inspirational women's talk, and I just wanted to say how lovely it was to speak to all of the young students there. You all are unique, you're all inspirational to me at least, and I just wanted to give you a shout out and just keep on doing what you're doing and meet people with kindness. Remember, it costs nothing to be kind to somebody. Right, so without further ado, I am going to introduce you to my two guests. Today our show is going to be about stem cell donation, and because if you're wondering what that's all about, we are going to talk a little bit about it. And I would like to introduce my two wonderful guests here. We have Lee Whitton. Hello, Lee.
Hello there.
Good evening to you. And we've got Helen Preston. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for coming along to this show today. And I think that it's very important that we talk about this subject. I think it's quite personal topic as well, after speaking to you both about what it entails and why it started off in the first place. So I'm going to come to you, Helen, first of all, and then we speak to Lee. Tell me a little bit about yourself, first of all.
Okay, my name's Helen Preston. I'm a chartered physiotherapist.
Yeah.
I'm the sixth physio in my family, so I guess I was born a physio, really.
Wonderful. Very flexible people.
Yes. So, yeah, I am a physio in my working life, but actually today I'm very much talking as a lay person.
Sure.
So I got involved and interested in stem cell donation through a very good friend of mine and colleague whose daughter was diagnosed with leukemia.
Sure.
And when your friend is diagnosed with, or your friend's daughter is diagnosed with a blood cancer, as a friend, as a mother yourself, you just want to be able to help.
Of course.
Little Miss Fix-It here couldn't really fix that in a way that I would like to as a physio.
Of course, of course.
And so I got involved in listening to Helena. She had a lot of time on her hands, and she was, because she was going back and forth to hospital, and she was posting a lot around stem cell donation.
Yeah.
And so I'm a park runner. I run the Peterborough Park Run a lot. And I know that there are loads of people there, loads of fit people who would be able to offer themselves on the stem cell donor register. So I got together a group of individuals who are friends with the Del Pino family, and they volunteered, came along and registered 33 new stem cell donors.
Wonderful.
So that was the first Saturday of January of this year.
Yeah.
And I think it touched a chord with not only the volunteers but the Peterborough community as a whole. And it really highlighted to me something that, I've been on a massive learning journey about stem cell. But just within the Asian community, there actually aren't many stem cell donors on the register.
Yeah.
And because of the importance of having a match, the likelihood is that you would need, if it was somebody from the Asian community who needed stem cells, they would likely need it from somebody from the Asian community.
Right, that's true.
So we wanted to target individuals from the Asian community to see if they would like to volunteer themselves on the stem cell register.
I think it's so important for awareness, Helen and Lee. And I think that we're going to really, I think that this will set a precedent to create awareness for our listeners who won't know, number one, about what stem cells really are and how they are utilised. Stem cell donation is how it's utilised with treating cancer, and in this circumstance it's blood cancer for the aid of my listeners, and how we would go about it. And that's why we've got a special Mr. Lee Whitten to tell us about your journey. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, Lee?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm certainly not a physiotherapist. I'm not that clever. I am a supply chain manager working in Peterborough. I'm also a runner, which is how I came to meet Helen, I think.
Okay.
I was also involved in parkrun. I'm on the core team behind organising that. But in fact, the blood stem cell donation, that was completely tangential to all of these things for me.
Yeah.
I first joined the register around 10 years ago when I was a student in Wales.
Yeah.
And I, in fact, joined a different register. There are multiple ones to the one that we're talking about tonight.
Okay.
I joined the Welsh bone marrow donation register, and they're also interested in peripheral blood stem cell donation, which is what I took part in. And it took them 10 years, actually, to come to me and to ask me for a donation, because even when you register, the chances of you being called up are quite rare. It's that hard to get a match, which is also why it's so important that so many people do register, because it just increases statistically the chance of people doing it.
That's right.
I was called up in 2016, went for various tests, was discovered to be the best match, and eventually ended up making my donation in February of last year.
Oh, wow.
So, as I say, 10 years gap between being on the register when I was 20 years old and making the donation when I'm 30 years old, which is just scaring me as I remember how old I am now.
Well, you're younger than me.
Oh, wow.
So if I'm thinking, because we're going to set a precedent here, aren't we? That's the thing. That's the whole purpose of having a show, that there's no use in having these shows if we can't demonstrate to the community that actually we are examples of the very fine work that is going on within the organisations that are providing stem cell registers or being placed on them. We did have a call. We've got a call coming in. Okay, so I'm just going to, if we can put our headphones on. Right here. Hello? Hello? Okay. So we're just waiting for somebody to talk to us for the time being. And whilst we're obviously waiting for our listener, whoever it is, if they've hopefully called for us, which would be great. Well, actually, it doesn't look as if it was for us, which is all right. But as we were sort of waiting over there, you said that you joined with the Welsh stem cell register, which means that there are quite a few within the United Kingdom. Is that right?
Yes.
Is there any one accessible and popular one within the United Kingdom that people should be aware of? Say, for example, in Peterborough today, if we were to sign up.
Yeah, so the register, the charity that I've been involved with in order to do the parkrun registration event is DKMS.
Okay.
The website is www.dkms.org.uk.
Okay.
There's loads of information on that website regarding stem cell donation, what it involves. And I would definitely direct everybody to that website who are in the UK. I believe DKMS is actually worldwide in certain countries as well. So
wow.
Yeah.
So I did a bit of reading up about this.
Yeah.
I really did want to know what organisation. It's nice to know which register you've actually donated towards, and I found out that this was set up, the DKMS charity was set up by a Dr. Peter Half, because his wife had blood cancer, and I don't know what the outcome was of that, but he set this register up in her memory, and now it's one of the biggest registers internationally. I think there's something like, is it 75,000 donors that we have in the United Kingdom, if I'm not wrong, and it's growing exponentially. But the fact of the matter is, I think it's really important that we need to be able to create this awareness. And for those of you who are listening and have just joined, it would be wonderful if you could participate by texting and WhatsApping us on 07745278978, or indeed call us on our studio telephone number to participate in the conversation. 01733 for you Luton listeners, 602133. It would be wonderful to hear from you. In fact, we have this event on the 17th of February. What I really would like, you generous people of Peterborough, my listeners, who I do call a very generous community, and we've seen that in all of our charity shows and events where we've done a lot of fundraising, is I would like to see tonight if any one of you would pledge stem cell donorship here. I'm going to set a precedent because tonight I'm actually going to sign the register to become a stem cell donor. So if I can do it, you can as well. There's no excuse why you can't. And we're going to talk a little bit about the process as well. Now, how long have you been involved? You said that Lee, you said that you had become involved since February last year. I mean, you were donated last year, but you've been on the register for 10 years.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
As well. And what about yourself, Helen? How long have you been involved?
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting, isn't it? We're both healthcare practitioners.
Yes.
And yet this whole stem cell donation thing for me, something I'd never thought about. I'll be honest about that. Even blood donation, because I had glandular fever when I was at university.
Oh, that's terrible.
I wasn't allowed to blood donate. You're not allowed to blood donate after a period of time, aren't you?
Yes.
And so I hadn't even put myself on the blood donation register, which I mean, the first thing I did do, because I only needed very many blood transfusions, was I started donating blood. In fact, I'm donating blood next week in my second donation. So it stimulated that in me. And I didn't know much about blood cancers, you know. So really, the reason why I'm here today is it stimulated something inside me that I wanted to do something to help.
Yes.
So I'm learning about stem cell donation all the time, and it was just through the event I did with Park Run that I'm here today, really.
Okay. And how much blood do you need to donate in the way of amount?
For blood donation or for stem cell donation?
For blood donation.
Right. As in when you go and give blood?
Yes. So do you
a
give
pint,
a pint?
I think. Yeah,
okay.
I think it's a pint. Yeah.
The reason why I ask that is we do have quite a few female patients who sometimes suffer from anemia, etc.
Okay.
And the notion is, and this is where I want to bring about awareness, that actually donating blood doesn't contribute to ill health, and there are screening processes in place to see whether you are eligible or not. And actually the life of a red cell is 120 days anyway, so you automatically regenerate that amount. So it's a good thing, really. And you were talking about stem cell so we were talking about donation of bone marrow, weren't we? But there was something that we spoke about before the show, Lee, in which you spoke about long blood donation. What does that actually mean in terms of stem cell? Was that something that...
You mean the peripheral bone stem cell donation?
Yes.
Well, to be honest, it's a fairly similar, except more lengthy process than blood donation. And in fact, blood donation was how I came to be on the register for the bone marrow and peripheral blood stem cell donation as well. In terms of the process, in terms of what's involved, there's a bit of a build-up. So there's a 4-day build-up. You have 4 days of a single injection. So someone will come to you and they will inject you with a drug which prompts your body to produce more stem cells.
Oh.
So they'll come to you, or if you're local to the hospital, it might be nice if you go and do the journey for them. And then the final injection will be on the morning of the donation.
Right.
On the morning of the donation, very similar to giving blood. The only difference is you will have 2 tubes inside of you instead of 1 tube. And the other thing is it can take up to about 6 hours to process through the donation, which sounds quite scary, but provided you bring enough entertainment, it's not exactly a painful process. As I mentioned, very, very similar to giving blood anyway.
Okay.
Just make sure you don't get bored.
Yes, absolutely. I was going to say a big a thick novel, I think. Big fat
Well,
novel. Or
you
something like
could
that.
do what myself and my wife did, which was make the mistake of bringing your brand new laptop and assuming it has a DVD player on it, which it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Which we found out the hard way. But, you know, we managed to entertain ourselves whilst we were there. During the process, it can just take 1 day to get the right amount out of you, or it can take 2 days. In my case, it took 2 days.
Okay.
But it really is as simple as sitting or lying on a bed and having blood taken out of one arm and put back into the other arm for just a period of time.
Okay, so that's how it is, because what they're effectively trying to do is extract the stem cells. That's what they actually need. That's very interesting, because the method that I was familiar with was taking bone marrow instead. And so that wasn't the process that you went through, was it?
No, it wasn't.
No.
And in fact, what I was told, certainly when I was being prepared for the donation, was that the bone marrow, which is an option people can go for, is actually less common. So whilst you can sign on the register, you can more or less... you'll be encouraged to go down one route rather than the other if you're found to be a match. But the bone marrow one is kind of, which a lot of people have the perception is more common, is actually a lot less common these days. And most of the time, the doctors who are managing the donation process will make a request that says, actually, no, we want the peripheral bone stem cell donation, and which, to be honest, is a relatively uninvasive process.
Yes, that's right. I mean, I do think that it probably goes by methodology of what I was taught in medical school, of some type of a true cut where sort of, you know, something penetrates the bone and then you just extract a bit of the marrow. That's what I'm assuming the whole process of extracting stem cells from the marrow is.
I having not actually gone through that
So
process
you're not
myself,
sure?
I wouldn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe with bone marrow, again, I would sort of send listeners to the DKMS website to look into it a little bit more. But from what I understand, only around 10% of the actual donations come from bone marrow.
Yeah.
And it actually comes from the hip.
Okay.
It's under general anaesthetic.
Oh.
And it comes from the hip rather than the spine, which I think was an old belief system.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. And for purpose of my listeners here, we're talking about stem cells and the contribution of the Asian community to register with the stem cell register, and the fact that we don't have enough Asians or ethnic communities, as it were, on the stem cell register itself. Now, you might be thinking, oh, they've spoken about all of this. What is it actually for? We've spoken about blood cancers, and blood cancers are varied cancers. So to make you a little bit more familiar, every 20 minutes, somebody in the United Kingdom is diagnosed with some form of a blood cancer. Now, if I say the words leukemia, lymphoma, myeloma, that might become a little bit more familiar to you. And leukemia is the more common one, as is lymphoma, but then again they are also divided into subtypes, and leukemia is quite common in children as compared to the other types. So myeloma more in the elderly population, and leukemia very much so in the younger population, which is why it's ever so important. If you could imagine, there's nothing worse, I think, as a parent than finding out that your child has just been diagnosed with a blood cancer. The word cancer is very, very scary. I see patients every day, and most symptoms that are brought my way are brought because they say, okay, could this be cancer? The fright is there, and this is the reason why having such shows is so important, because we want to create that awareness that there is a register out there, there is a way that you can help. And imagine the more Asian people actually register, the more chances there are of a child who may be of the same ethnicity, and the chances of finding a donor. And I was looking at some statistics today, and sometimes what happens is that what the information I've got, that sometimes finding a person with a matching tissue type for someone in need of a blood stem cell donation is not easy either, because it depends upon your genetics, your DNA, etc. And there are something like 16,000 known varied tissue characteristics. So you can imagine trying to find in sort of, you know, the population, trying to find somebody who exactly matches with you. And if you want a little bit of information on what stem cells actually are, so in very easy language to all of you, you have your blood, and your blood is composed of different types of blood cells. So you've got your white cells, which are responsible for fighting various types of infection. You've got your red blood cells, which are responsible for making hemoglobin. And then you've got your platelets, which help in clotting when you hurt yourself, scratch yourself, prevent you from bleeding excessively. And there is what you call a precursor or a beginning to all of these cells, which is known as a stem cell. So the stem cell has the ability to regenerate into any one of these three types of cells, which is why it's so important to think about the scope that stem cell donation has, because you have the potential to treat all three types of cancer if you are on the register and you can donate your stem cells, and certainly if they have a match. I mean, I think there's nothing more rewarding than thinking that I, as an Asian female, for example, and compared to males, there must be a lot less females. Do the statistics reveal anything, Lee or Helen, regarding Asian communities?
Yeah, what as in
being on the stem cell register?
Yeah, do you know, I don't know that.
Okay, it'd be interesting to find out.
I don't know either. I mean, one thing I can say, though, as I went through the process, what was indicated to me was that it's not just the UK you're helping if you register in the UK. You're actually helping globally. Because there are databases that are shared across the world in many nations, where they will be trying to match all of these tissue characteristics, as you mentioned. So you may, if you register in the UK, if you register in Canada or the US, wherever, you may end up helping somebody the other side of the world. But the important thing is you are helping that person.
Absolutely.
In my example, I wasn't told much. There's a fair amount of anonymity that's attached to the donation process for obvious reasons.
Sure.
But what I was told was it was a relatively young female British person. That's kind of the extent of the information that was given to me. And I would imagine that going through this charity, it's going to be a similar kind of process. You'll get that level of information. You'll be told, okay, this is where they're coming from, this is their background. But you know, there's not much more than that to it.
You have been given some communication, though, haven't you?
Yeah, I was.
Listen to this story.
So, I mean, you're told at the beginning that there's kind of a 2-year anonymous period. However, if one of you wants to approach the other person anonymously, then you can do during that period. And I kind of thought nothing of it, because part of the emotion that you go through the whole process is you don't know actually what happens to the patient.
That's
you're not told, okay, this was successful, this wasn't successful.
Yeah.
And there's also half of you at the back of your mind going, I kind of don't want to know, because if it wasn't successful, then I kind of feel like a bit of my body's failed, which is a crazy thing to think about.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that is the thought process that kind of goes through your mind.
Yeah.
But just in December, I received a greeting card from the recipient.
Wow.
And again, it was fairly anonymous. It was through the charity and through the register that I went through.
Yeah.
And she basically told me she was well. She got married in September.
Wow.
And she was looking at starting a family. And it was really a wonderful moment that kind of hit you in the face and went, whoa, I made a difference.
That's so true, though.
Yeah, and it was, to receive something that's handwritten like that, it really touched your heart. And that feeling, I don't think you can buy it. You can't get that anywhere. So you will get it, or potentially will get it, if you're able to sign up to the register.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Lee, what a wonderfully heartening story that you've shared with us. I'm taking this, was this before Christmas at all?
Yes, just before Christmas.
Oh, lovely Christmas present, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. It was wonderful. And we've got 2 minutes, 3 minutes to the break. And what I wanted to announce to the listeners are, those of you who belong to ethnic minorities, I today announce that I will be registering with the Stem Cell Register. We are going to be undergoing the process during the break. When we come back from the break, I will tell you what my experience was and what I had to do. And then on the 17th of February, after the break, we're going to talk a little bit about this event as well, aren't we, on the 17th of February? And hopefully we can get as many of you as possible. And in the meantime, we've got some extremely wonderful comments here. So I have a Mr. Imad Kabir. I'm following you from Algeria, and thank you for this share. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Imad. That's wonderful to see that you are following us from there. I have Amanda Crawdon, who has asked, will I come off the list at a certain age?
I think it depends on the register. Different registers have different rules. They also have different requirements for people that are going onto it. There is actually a cost associated with registering people and processing that. So the charities have to keep that in mind and be choosy in some cases to who they register and who they don't.
Of course.
And again, it depends on the organisation. And then there's also an optimal side of things, that if you're of a certain age, then you'll stand more chance of giving a better donation.
Yeah.
All of that said, though, there are plenty of people in their 50s and 60s that do donate. And it's more a case of getting that match right than really looking at the age.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. And we will obviously find out a little bit more in terms of any physical things to expect after donating. In the meantime, we have Elisa Pete. I had a transplant in December 2015. My donor was a young German man who was found via the DKMS register in Germany. He is now my real-life hero, my soulmate, and I literally owe him my life. As 2 years have passed, we are now in direct contact. It's absolutely wonderful. Brilliant stories coming out here. This is just so heart-wrenching, and being a bit of an emotional person, I'm glad that the great break's coming up. So we've got 15 seconds to the break, listeners. I'd love to hear from you. It'd be wonderful if you could just inbox me some messages to say, well, actually, I am going to register with the stem cell register. I will tell you my experience when we come back after the break.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Urse Mubarak of Khwajgan Neriyan Sharif, Sheikhul Alam Pir Alauddin Siddiqui Rahmatullah alayh, under the supervision of Hazrat Allama Pir Dr. Sultan Al Arifin Siddiqui Saab, Sajada Nasheen Darbare Aliya Neriyan Sharif, taking place on Saturday 3rd February at Jamia Masjid Gamkhol Sharif, Birmingham. 2 coaches will leave Peterborough at 10:30 a.m., one for men and one for ladies, and it is free of charge. For more information on the event or transport, please contact Faisal Hussain on 07811117786. Sisters can contact this number 07424403527. That's Urse Mubarak of Khwajgan Neriyan Sharif, Sheikhul Alam Pir Alauddin Siddiqui Rahmatullah alayh, taking place on Saturday 3rd of February at Jamia Masjid Gamkhol Sharif. A great spiritual gathering. Everyone is welcome.
Sadly, millions of orphans living in the poorest countries lack the necessary support for a healthy childhood. These children have to endure lives of hardship without the basic necessities that would help them to grow, to learn, to live. Let's show them that we do care. Let's brighten up their future. Call 0161 225 0225 or visit humanappeal.org.uk.
Are you looking for a fun-loving and professional nursery? Then call Bright Bambini Montessori on Peterborough 306565. Teaching EYFS curriculum and Ofsted approved. We also offer Forest School and Arabic. Limited free funded places available. Call 01733 306565 or email info@bbmc.uk. Bright Bambini Montessori.
Need a great place to chill out? Look no further than The Lounge for quality food and drinks at a great price. Try our varied menu: pasta, seafood, burgers, grills, salad, soup, rice and sides. Also hot and cold drinks, milkshakes and mocktails. Leave room for our exquisite desserts. The Lounge, 417 Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Call 01733 709 306 to order for delivery. The Lounge, friendly service with a great atmosphere.
Need car parts quickly and at a great price? City Auto Parts offer competitive prices, trade accounts and a delivery service in and around Peterborough. For all your parts and accessories requirements, visit City Auto Parts, 30 Fitzwilliam Street, Peterborough, PE1 2RX. Call us on 01733 347711 or visit www.cityautoparts.co.uk.
Allah's Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah has 99 names, 100 less one, and he who memorized them all by heart will enter paradise. To count something means to know it by heart.
Fortunate is he who remembers Allah.
This is Salaam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim community radio. Broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to all of you on this really exciting show about stem cell donation. Now, during the break, I have spoken to Helen about how we're going to be swabbing, filled the initial details in on the form. So I'm now officially a donor.
On the register. Yeah.
Officially on the register. So I put my hands up and I'm an example of that. Listeners, so please, Luton, Peterborough, you have demonstrated in the past how generous you are, and this could save a life. I've brought up examples of those people who have benefited from it. We have Lee's example in front of us, the lady connected with Lee, who was the recipient of that. Lee gave her a new lease of life. She got married. And can you imagine how wonderful that must feel that you have been able to contribute to that, to contribute in your own way to give somebody a new life? It's just so wonderful. And there is such a shortage of Asian people on the register that we need to make a start at this. We can't be sitting home and listening to the show. I really would like you to get up, and we're going to have an event on the 17th of February that we're going to be talking about a little bit. And please think about this. Please think about others. Think about all those children that will be diagnosed with leukemia. Remember the statistics that I've made you aware about. Every 20 minutes somebody is diagnosed with a blood cancer, which is devastating news for any parent and any individual indeed. It doesn't matter what age you are, what background you come from. We are all one human race if you look at it in that aspect, and you are helping humanity, and there is no greater charity than saving a life, I think. Definitely. And we've got DKMS UK who have come on and commented. It's wonderful to see them. So DKMS UK, hello DKMS UK, thank you very much for connecting with this show. I feel privileged. And they have said that once you have joined the stem cell register, you stay on it until your 61st birthday, which is very interesting because I find that very useful, especially what you said, because now they no longer take bone marrow as opposed to peripheral blood for stem cells.
They take both.
They take both,
but not as much. And that's where this could be. Taking blood samples is a lot more, I think, suitable for women who go through the menopause, who then have sort of not as much bone marrow left as it is. So this would be a much more suitable option in my opinion.
Well, overall, it's a much less invasive process.
Absolutely,
I think people imagine that you're going to be laid on your back, have your hip cracked open, and they're going to scoop out your bone marrow or something like that. And it really isn't like that. No. It couldn't be any further from the truth.
Absolutely.
And as I say, providing you bring the right equipment, you can just sit there for 6 hours and enjoy yourself.
Yes.
So it's not as terrifying as everyone told me it was going to be.
Yes.
Going into it.
Yes, and I have two healthy individuals, life-size examples here, who have undergone donation and know what it's like firsthand, and are sat here very healthy looking, I can assure you, healthier than I am, and nothing's happened, and you've actually contributed towards saving a life. And in turn to that as well, I have a comment here by Mr. Chris King. Privileged to know Helen. She inspired both me and my wife to register. Wonderful. And the process of registration was super easy, and we are both really glad we did it. Well done, Helen and Lee. Now, there were some aspects that we needed to talk about regarding if you wanted to join the stem cell register. There were some health issues that we needed to talk about. So there are some contraindications that we do need to talk about of joining the stem cell register. So if you suffer from any of the following diseases, if you've got heart disease, for example, you may have had a previous heart attack or any sort of coronary artery disease, sort of, high cholesterol, etc., that's causing blockage of your arteries, you might not be suitable. Lung diseases such as COPD, can't really register. And diseases of the blood system as well. So when we're talking about the blood system, and it says the hematopoietic system, we're basically meaning viruses as well. So it could be hepatitis B, hepatitis C, HIV. For example, if you are suffering from a blood cancer yourself, you don't have those quality of stem cells to donate. So in that case, that would be unsuitable. Severe kidney diseases, again, people with kidney problems are quite anemic and can have a lack of blood, which is why I think that they would be rendered unsuitable too. Cancer, we've spoken about that. Autoimmune conditions, so if you have rheumatoid arthritis or Crohn's disease, again, it does affect the quality of stem cells, which is why it's not suitable to become a donor. And diabetes type 1 and 2, because your diabetes type 2 is controlled by diet, and diabetes type 1 and 2. If your diabetes type 2 is controlled by diet and there are no other risk factors, then you could possibly become a donor. So let me just put that out, because we do have a lot of Asian people who are diabetes type 2 who are controlled by diet. So yeah, don't think that you can't join. It's always better to come along on this event on the 17th that we're going to talk about. Now, your weight, if you're underweight, 7 stone 12 pounds, under 50 kilos, which I used to be once upon a time before I got married, then yes, you can't donate. And obesity, so if you've got a BMI of greater than 40, then yes, you can't donate as well. And the best way to donate is for everybody in Peterborough, Luton indeed, if you'd like to have a drive up the A1, it'd be lovely to see you. We have an event on the 14th of February, don't we, Helen? 17th, sorry. Why am I thinking the 14th of February? For all the wrong reasons. It's wrong. No, it's the 17th of February, okay? It's not the 14th. You can enjoy Valentine's Day. Nobody's saying that you come and donate your stem cells. But yes, 17th of February.
Worth also saying for your listeners in Luton as well is that you can register with various organisations, potentially this one as well, online, yes. And they will send you a pack in the post.
Oh.
And you can do that swab exercise at home and send it in.
Wonderful.
Again, I'm not sure it's all the organisations, I'm not sure it's all the charities that support this, but certainly there are some online. Give it a Google search if they're interested and they don't really want to travel all the way to Peterborough.
Okay. You could do it now.
Yes.
Yes.
You could do it now. So all of you listening at home, I've got such inspirational people who are sat in front of me, and it's inspired me to join and register. So if I can do it, any one of you can. Nothing's going to happen to me. There will be very many more body health and mind shows, even if I am called to donate. And trust me, I will be a living example and reiterate that process, the very same process that Lee has gone through and Helen has been through as well. And we've got another comment here from Helen Thompson. She says, I'm on the register through DKMS and I hope many more people sign up at this drive. I think that a lot of people are deferred from joining because they believe that the process is much more invasive than it is. Please sign up and they'll send you through a kit to take the test and send it to be analysed. Please register. You could save a life. And absolutely right, Helen Thompson, you are absolutely right. So well done you for joining the register as well. And I've got Sue Cannon here. My son was a donor last year. Absolutely amazing feeling. He said that this has hopefully given someone a chance at life. He was on the register for 18 months before he got a call to say that he was a potential match. And just imagine that one phone call that tells you, well, actually, we have somebody whose life you could save. So that's so very important, isn't it? So, Helen, would you like to tell us a little bit about the event that's taking place on the 17th of February, please?
Yeah, so after the success of the Peterborough Park Run event, we called ourselves the group New Year, New Life.
Okay.
And another member of the group, Kate, has set up an event registration event with the One Day With Us, which is a celebration of the contribution of immigrants to the UK.
Yes.
And it's at the St John's Church in Cathedral Square. between 1 and 4 p.m.
Okay, so that's between 1 and 4 p.m. at the St John's Church, Cathedral Square. I'm not sure whether there's a St John the Baptist
I think
church
that's the
as
same
well.
one.
Is that the same one?
Yeah.
So yes, don't get confused like I did, because I will be making an appearance, mind you. So initially,
Brilliant.
I was going to come on the 17th, but I'm so glad that we decided that no, today's the day. We can't wait for it.
Yeah.
So yes, I've signed up today, and I'm going to be there. And I kid you not, I will be out on those streets, and any ethnic minority person I will be seeing, I will be talking to you about stem cell donation and saying, come with me, I will get you signed onto the register, because it's such a wonderful thing to do. It's a wonderful form of charity without having to spend anything as well. Just imagine you could save a life. What bigger charity do you have than that? And in the meantime, we've got some more comments here. Sarah Johnson, such great awareness of stem cell donation. Up until 2016, I hadn't heard of it until my partner was diagnosed with leukemia and needed one. Unfortunately, a donor wasn't found and he sadly passed away. So sorry to hear, Sarah. With awareness like this, hopefully it will encourage people to register and help those in need of a donor. So yeah, some very touching comments coming through. And you know, all of you are giving us inspiration. Helen Hedge, I'm a donor with a big smiley face. Ama Davies Dove, I'm already a donor with a big smiley face. First of all, thank you. Thank you for coming forward and registering with the stem cell register, because you are inspirational. And I will be sharing this on my social media pages as well to give a lot more sort of insight into what this entails. So 17th of February is the date to think about, my listeners. So please do think about joining the stem cell register. And Lee, coming to yourself with regards to your process, you've spoken about the process of what you had to go through. After, what type of symptoms did you feel?
Well, as I mentioned, the process itself is fairly non-invasive. It's not a hugely painful process. I mean, if we were to talk about the symptoms and so on that come afterwards, in the run-up to it, you do feel fairly flu-like with the drug that you're given. And what I will say, actually, is I know several other people who have donated and done exactly the same process as me, and they felt nothing. Okay. So it is a hugely varying thing. Whereas I actually felt like I had the worst man flu that I had in a long time.
Poor Laura.
Yeah, absolutely. Laura's my wife.
So she had to look after you.
She did a very good job of looking after me.
Well, Laura, if you're watching, you can tell that you've got two ladies over here who are very grateful to you. Actually, a lot of the credit goes to you as well.
Absolutely. And then kind of you come down from that feeling of being flu-like. In the days afterwards. Yeah. In terms of your recovery from doing that, it really doesn't take a huge amount to recover. I mean, as Helen mentioned, she and I are both runners, and so every other weekend we're probably racing or running and testing our bodies to the limits as much as we can. And you did notice a bit of a drop in performance, again, having done the donation, but within months you're back to normal, you're back to performing at your best. And I've been able to go on and win races this year, even though I did the donation earlier in the year. So it doesn't have an impact on your health, even if you're trying to be competitive, right? Yeah. It's something that everybody can do, and it's not going to really hurt you, certainly not for any long period of time.
I think Lee's being a little bit modest with his achievements this year, based on what was your mad endurance event that you managed to start doing a stem cell donation?
I received the medal today, actually, in the post.
Tell us about this medal, please.
Well, I entered an ultra marathon called Escape from Meriden, and I ran 121 miles in 24 hours.
Wow.
Racing against various other people.
How long was this all in one go?
Yeah, all in one go.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So if you can donate and then proceed to do that a few months later, then I would say anyone can donate as well. Absolutely. There really shouldn't be anybody thinking, I'd like to do it, except that maybe I've got, I don't know, this event coming up, or I'd like to do it, but I want this. No, you just sign up.
Yes.
And as I mentioned earlier on, you had an example of a listener who was called up after 18 months. It took me 10 years. Yeah. And there are many people, sadly, on the register who will never be called up because they don't actually end up matching.
Yeah.
But if you can, you're saving a life. And whether you get flu-like symptoms temporarily, or whether you have a few weekends where you can't run as hard as you want to at parkrun, you're saving a life And it matters not that you have a little bit of flu or you're a tiny bit slower. It's a sure thing in order to save somebody's life.
Absolutely, Lee. And this is what I'm taking from this. This is number one, inspiration. And number two, thank you very much for making my show so much more famous, for being a marathon runner and then coming on and gaining medals. I mean, what more do I need? This is wonderful. It really is. And it's an example to the listeners that actually it doesn't impinge on your health. And like I said before, I have two individuals in front of me who are more healthier than I am. So if they can do it and they've gone through it, then any of us can do it. And what the other thing that I wanted to speak about, Lee and Helen, was that it reminds me a couple of years ago of social media's very powerful tool, I sometimes say, to pass on messages. And it reminds me a couple of years ago about a Sikh child who had been diagnosed with leukemia. And I can remember that their family were absolutely desperate to find a donor. So what they'd done was they had set up camp, I think it was in Leicester, to try and gain as many people on the register as possible. And it was sad in a way because people don't know about this. Very many people don't know about this. And it's only when you find out that you think, goodness. And coming from an Asian background as well, where the number of donors are comparatively less, it can be extremely, I think, anxiety-provoking as well. So what I mean to say is the message I want to get out to my listeners is don't let a family become a subject of desperation, that they have to resort to desperate measures for getting that message out and asking people to please come to, register, be on the stem cell register, because we don't want to put anybody in that position. How nice it would be if there were more donors and actually a match was found more easily as well. And there are international donors as well. So the more awareness we create, the better it is. And in fact, we were just speaking to each other before the break, and we have a listener from Algeria, Mr. Imad Kabir. If you're listening and if you do like the show, this should be an inspiration for you to donate. You would be an ethnic minority person, and your donation could save a life. And that's the main thing to think about. So definitely it's worth it. I've got a Mr. Waqas Khan. Hi everyone, I'm ready to register with DKMS UK. You guys are doing a very good job. Keep it up. Thanks for motivating me. Oh, Mr. Waqas Khan, honestly, thank you so much. And this is why it's so worth it, that if we can get just one person or more who would be, motivated just by watching this show, this is absolutely worth it. It's worth doing this if one of you or more of you, as many of you, came forward and were able to register on the stem cell register as well. I've got a comment here from a Mr. Nathan Garbett. I've been on the list for around 5 years now and have recently been matched. Currently waiting for confirmatory testing, but just the thought of being able to help someone is amazing. That's very wonderful. Thank you for your comment, Mr. Nathan Garbett. And we also have donation is a beautiful, Mr. Ahmad Kabir again, donation is a beautiful thing. And you all are the most beautiful voice in this charity. Share arrived across the world. I'm following you from Algeria. Greetings to you. Thank you very much again. And we've also got a message from DKMS UK. Thank you so much for registering for your swab kit, Dr. Shabina. We will be posting your swab kit in the next few days. Once you send it back, we'll analyse your swabs and tissue type and add you as a potential blood stem cell donor to the registry. DKMS UK is an absolute privilege. Honestly, if we can help, then so be it. It's absolutely wonderful to see that. And somebody's asked, can you become a donor if you take regular medication? So I'm just thinking. So Rifat, I spoke about some of the conditions that would be a contraindication to becoming a donor. One of them would have been obviously diabetes type 1 or type 2 if you're on medication. And also if you have a blood-borne illness, if you've got COPD as well, if you have cancer, if you have a decreased immune system. So it depends upon what type of medication you're on. If you have high blood pressure, you still could potentially donate. It doesn't mean, but if you've had a heart attack, etc., then obviously you can't, because that was stated. But you can gain a lot of information from the website, which is www.dkmsuk.org. And have a look, and please do come forward. In other words, what I would like a lot of you to do is to have a look at the website and gain a lot of knowledge. You can inbox me and I will try and answer your questions as well, as much as I can, before the 17th of February. And then please do let me know if you're coming on the 17th of February. I was supposed to invite somebody over for dinner that day, and I said no, I've got this event to go to, and I postponed it for a day later. So you could just go to show how important this is to all of us. So this is what I would really like for, and it's wonderful to see all of your encouragement. Helen Thompson has said, think you should point out that once you're on the register, you could become a match to anyone around the world, as the register is shared globally. Join up, please. So yes, that's the other thing. You could become a register to anyone in the world. And how wonderful if you were to become a register for somebody from a developed country where medical facilities aren't as openly accessible as they are within the United Kingdom, Europe and the United States as well.
I was looking on the DKMS Facebook page last night, and it's really worth a visit because there's loads of videos that give individual stories, and you know, exactly that, of different countries and travelling over 2 years on and meeting them, and it's really inspirational.
That's wonderful, which has given me an idea, Helen, because I am going to like the DKMS UK page as well. I think it's a very self-learning process. I often say on these shows I learn something every single time, and this is something that I've learnt about. And indeed, we were talking about not knowing that you can donate your cord blood as well, and that can help because you can get stem cells retrieved from your cord blood. So pregnant ladies, again, everybody's going to be thinking that I'm not leaving anybody here, but actually I'm not. Pregnant ladies, this is an option for you. Do have a word with your midwife, or in fact anybody. You could speak to one of the charities or have a look where you could actually donate your cord blood as well. Do not let your placentas go to waste, which is what I've said. I've wasted 4, and if I'd known before, I would have actually put them up for donation. That stem cell, the cord blood towards stem cells. There's a cord blood bank. And I believe there's a centre in London and in Birmingham, if I'm not wrong, but you'd have to check. Now, are there any special messages that you would like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think one of the things I would say is that, unfortunately, cancer is increasingly common as we're becoming an ageing population, and there are various lifestyle factors that affect it as well. And one of the things people always say is, oh, okay, you know, technology is always improving, things are always getting better, always learning new things. This really is something that isn't relying on technology. This isn't relying on patience. This isn't relying on waiting. This isn't relying on fundraising, although all of those things are great things. This is just relying on individuals that are listening to the radio station right now. They can actually make a difference. They don't need to wait. They don't need to donate. They just need to sign up to this register, and they can actually save someone's life. There's no magic scientist in a lab that's going to fix this one. It's you guys that are listening that can actually make a difference. And if you can do, then please do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Lee. And Lee was a donor at the age of 20, everybody. So if Lee can do it at such a young age, and now you said you were 30, sort of 10 years on.
I registered when I was 20 and donated when I was 30. Yeah.
Donated when he was 30, and still very much looking like a 20-year-old, I must say, if I may say so.
Let's not look at the receding hairline, but apart from that, yeah.
But feeling like a 20-year-old because he's a medal holder with a massive marathon that you've just run. So absolutely, if you can do it, it's an inspiration for other people to do it as well. And yourself, Helen, what's your message? Because I know that this is quite personal for you as well, isn't it?
It is, and you know, I'm a mother.
Yes.
And I know that the quite traumatic diagnosis that my friend Helena had regarding her daughter. And when you are a mother, you really feel for that family. And you want, you know, I'm a physiotherapist, and yet I very rarely come across blood cancer. And so actually to be touched like that, what would that happen if it was my child?
Yes,
you know,
right.
and so I'm like thinking, goodness me, we need to get more people on this register.
Yes, that's right. And it's interesting that you say that, Helen, because the idea was given to me, and I think that she deserves a mention. This is Kate Ferris, who we met, and I was having a chat with her, and she's lovely. So Kate, if you are listening, you have to know that you started this. And the credit also goes to you. And we wish you were here today. It would have been wonderful had you been able to participate and tell us a little bit about the event. But the fact of the matter is that it was Kate that actually said, do you know, I have an idea. and we just got talking, and it was so important to have this show just before that event. So thank you, Kate, if you are listening. And she might be in a yoga class somewhere, as she was saying, but otherwise she has done, I think it's just started the ball rolling with all of this, which is so important. And we've had people that have said that they're going to join the register. We have Waqas Khan, if you live in Peterborough, it would be wonderful if you could come to the St John's Church in the city centre of Peterborough and fill a form. Or if you're not accessible to Peterborough and you can't come, you can go online and register. You can do it now, as Helen was saying as well. And so once the forms, you'll be collating the forms on the day, and then they'll be sent to a central
so they'll get sent back to DKMS, the charity, who I believe process them, take some time to process them, and then they inform you that you are then on the donor register. And then it's quite important to try and put your GP details on there, and as much details on the form as possible, because obviously, like Lee, for example, registered in Wales when he was a student, and now he's in Peterborough. Yes. And you perhaps don't necessarily think to tell the stem cell donor, the register, that you've moved. So by registering your GP, you're much more likely to be traced.
That's true.
Because obviously you'll go from one GP to a next GP, so they'll be able to trace you.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing to also take into consideration, listeners, that if you do move, obviously do make sure that you put your GP's details on the form as well. So we're going to be completing that, and we've reached the end of our show. I mean, I can't thank you both enough, Lee and Helen, for coming today, taking your valuable time out, from your families actually, and giving that here today for the purpose of the benefit of those people who are looking for a donor. And certainly let's together pledge that we're going to make a change.
Well, thank you for having us.
No worries at all. Thank you. Yes, and hopefully we'll be talking more about it. And it's wonderful again. I will be back next week, my listeners, and hopefully look forward to hosting a show to all of you in Peterborough, the United Kingdom, internationally, the people of Luton. It's an absolute pleasure to host this show to all of you. So thank you very much. And next week, join me again for another Body, Health and Mind show.